welcome back everyone. So in today's episode, we have Mark O'Brien. Mark is an ex-professional footballer who started out at Cherry Orchid, but was quickly snapped up by Derby County at the age of 14. Welcome to the Trouble Boys Club, mate. How's it going today?
Yeah, no, it's going really good. I've been looking forward to it when I got the owl invite to come on.
Oh, mate, we was absolutely buzzing when we came across you. But if you could just do us a favour and just give our listeners just a little bit of a brief description of who you are and your journey, like from the beginning, really, if that's okay.
Yeah, like from the beginning, I played professional football for about 11 and a half years. Like I moved away from Ireland when I was 15. I signed for Derby County when I was 15, and I was lucky enough then at the time I was able to make my debut by 16 in the same season. And then after that, like the way I describe my life is like a roller coaster. Like there was a lot of things that went on. Like 2 open heart surgeries, getting to play at Wembley twice, getting to play in a 5th round of an FA Cup, getting to play at Celtic Park. And then obviously after retirement of football, after my 2nd open heart surgery, then realistically getting to like see a new side of life that I've never seen before, getting to experience things. I wrote a book about the life that I had, and just literally just finding my feet in normal day-to-day life, still staying connected in football and using everything I've gone through to try and help people. But if that's a small description of a lot that's gone on in my life, but I'm sure there's plenty more to come from it.
Yeah, that's insane. Like, it's so good, obviously, that like you just managed to even get into professional football and stuff, because obviously only a handful of people get to that level, don't they? But yeah, getting into Derby as well at the age of 16, playing at Wembley, all that kind of shit. I just feel like we've got so many different questions to ask, haven't we? Like,
no, I know.
I'm so excited.
I wanted to ask one, Mark. Do you know when you said you made your debut at 16? Is it also correct that you also made your debut for your country at 16 as well and was the captain?
Yeah, so I got to play for Ireland under 16s. I got to captain Ireland at the under 16s, and I got Ireland under 16 Player of the Year all in the same year.
Wow.
And I got Derby County's Academy Player of the Year. Made my debut all in that same season. So that was like kind of a massive, massive season at the beginning of everything that kind of went on. But it was something where I went from playing in a local park the summer before, and then 12 months later, end of May, you play in front of 23,000 people at Vicarage Road away at Watford. So I think it was like a massive, massive like change and turn of events. But as I say, that was the beginning of so many things that came my way in my career.
Well, what's it like playing in front of that many people? Like, can you hear things that people might be like shouting towards you, or do you just is it like a mental thing to sort of like tune the crowd out and just play your game? Like, what's that like?
Do you know what? Surprisingly, like you can hear the atmosphere and you can hear like the cheers and boos and stuff like that. But realistically, you don't hear anything. Like, as in, you don't hear individuals of certain things depending on the ground. But it's like you go out there, and I think it's like any footballer can say, it's like once you're there, it's like nothing else matters. It's like you're focused on that game. You're focused on the ball coming into your feet. You're focused on the player you're playing against and trying to win the game. So you don't really pay attention to what's going on. And only sometimes, the closer you get to the fans, you might hear the odd individuals shouting things, and you might hear the certain not so nice things going on. But also, like you say, you can feed off the atmosphere just as much. And I think it was at 16, it's like I blanked out, because even when I try and think back to the game, I can only remember snippets of the game. I don't even remember the full 30 minutes that I played, because it just felt like it went just like a click of a finger. But as I say, it was when you go out in front of that many people, like you say, it could be 60,000 to 10 people. You're going out there to play a game of football, and I think that's the only thing that kind of matters at the end of it all.
Yeah, it's absolutely mad, the concept of it, innit? Because like I know Ryan said before we hit record, like we fucking love football. And like when we played, like obviously as kids, in like just standard football teams and stuff.
Yeah.
Like you feel the pressure then, and you're only playing in front of like your parents and a couple of like, you know, maybe about 50, 60. So I couldn't imagine like playing in front of that many people. Like especially when like, you know, you try not to make mistakes, you're trying to play a certain game plan and all that kind of stuff. But what kind of footballer would you say you was? Because obviously I know you was captain, so you was most likely quite loud and, you know, a bit leery or whatever, but would you be, like Ryan said before, if someone was giving you shit in the crowd? I know a lot of footballers these days, being professional, are like more media trained and you can't do certain stuff, but like say, is it Jordan Pickford, Everton's keeper? Like,
Yeah.
he gives it the fucking fans all game, doesn't he, and shit like that. Yeah, so what would you say? What kind of like player was you?
I'd say literally the type of person that I was when I played. Like I was loud, I was getting into people a lot. Like obviously getting an opportunity of being captain, I was able to enforce a lot of things. I was someone that like I was angry when I played. It was like I was a different person when I played. It was like off the pitch I could be, and then everybody just says, "Oh, he's a lovely bloke, he's a nice fella." But once I played, literally I couldn't care whether we were best mates and played for the same team. I was literally going to be kicking you up into the air just as much. Like, and that's what I enjoyed about football. I loved the physical side. I would say, if anything I was to describe, I'd say I was born in the wrong era of football. Like I should have been around the 80s and 90s where tackling was allowed, physicality was allowed, and like being a defender where you were able to kind of do those dark arts type things, and you were able to have like a good like proper scrap with someone. Like that was me as a player. But I think like I was someone that if fans were to shout things and I did hear it, I wasn't shying away from being able to, like, if dependent on what they were saying, but I would say something back to fans if they were saying things. I remember even at Newport, we were playing against Manchester City in the 5th round of the FA Cup, and this is like League Two. Obviously, we are League Two, and it was like 20 minutes into the game. I think we touched the ball a handful of times, and in that handful of times we touched it, like we were playing quite well defensively, but I would say the ball went out of play over near one of the stands, and then I went back to grab it just to kind of slow down their attacks and just to hold on to it. And I just remember hearing someone shout onto the pitch saying, "Any chance of you lot getting close to them?" And I just like wanted to like freak out, because I'm thinking we're playing against probably one of the best teams in the world here, and you're thinking we're trying not to get close to them. I'm just saying. And I just turned around and I just threw the ball into the ground, and I just said, "Is there any chance you want to come on here and play instead?" And I just like wanted to lose my head, but then afterwards it's kind of like you do just forget about it. But it was like in that moment I'm just thinking, the cheeky, like whatever you want to call them, quick enough to be able to around. It's quick enough to be able to turn around and tell you, "Oh yeah, get close to all the best players in the world," and you're out there sweating, breathing out of your arse, thinking, "Do you know what? I'm trying my hardest here."
Yeah. I was actually going to say then, when you said that you played City in the Cup, I was going to say, was it before oil money or after? Well, I'm guessing it's after. He's a City fan, by the
way. It was definitely after the oil money. It was like the starting lineup was Edison in goal. It was Danilo, John Stones, Otamendi, Zinchenko. It was David Silva, Phil Foden, and Fernandinho, with Sané, Mahrez, and Jesus up top.
Shit. His favourite player is David Silva. Yeah. He's going to ask what he smelled like as well.
Like, what was it like trying to defend against David Silva, man? Like, did you like? It's impossible, right?
Honestly, I remember, and I've had that question before asking me, like, who's the best player you played against? And I know he's a midfielder, but I said it has to be him. I said, like, there was just nobody could get near him. Like, it was just, he always found himself in space. He was always just jogging around, and then he'd just break into a sprint, and then he'd go back jogging again. He breaks into a sprint, and his touch was perfect. Like, I remember it was before the game, and you go in for the captain's handshakes, and the referee speaks to you and stuff like that. And as I'm walking in, and obviously David Silva was the captain, and you're standing there and you're kind of thinking, if this is in any other setting, But you're asking for a picture.
Yeah.
You're asking for a selfie there. This fella's won a World Cup. He's won the European Championships. Like, he's a world-class player. And you're standing next to him thinking, right, I've got to play against you. So you've got to keep it some level of professional. But realistically, you're looking at it thinking, like, can't believe this is happening.
Wow, that is absolutely insane. Did you get his like shirt or anything afterwards? Did you ask for it?
I ended up getting Bernardo Silva's shirt at the end of the game, so I've got that in the wardrobe stacked away here with a couple of other shirts.
Wow, yeah, that's not a bad substitute. Did a lot of yous go for David Silva's shirt afterwards? Was it like a bit of a fight or something?
Do you know what? There wasn't much of a fight. It was like kind of force come, force served. Like, all the starting 11 were able to go to wherever City player they wanted, but you really just went and you just wanted to grab whoever it was, because I don't think you'd be disappointed with any of the shirts that you get, because even on the bench for the lads who didn't play, there was Raheem Sterling, Kyle Walker, Kevin De Bruyne, Laporte, all people like that were all just sitting on the bench just as quick. So anybody shirt that you were going to get on that night, they were all world-class players.
We'll just have a little Google of the fixture then and see that it was 4-1. You did well to get a goal. Who was it who got it?
You know what, right? It was
Hammond.
Padraig Hammond. And he finished joint top goal scorer of the FA Cup that year. But
no way.
It was like the stat that came after that game was we were the fifth or fourth team in Europe that season to keep Man City to a 0-0 draw at half time.
Really?
And that, like, a little team like Newport League 2
fucking hell.
Yeah,
shouldn't be doing stuff like that.
That's unreal, that. All you're doing, mate.
Yeah, it's all you, Mark. Was you playing in defence on your own? 1-4-4 or something like that?
Yeah.
It's got David's over and an
Do you know what? At some stages it felt like I was nicked back there on my own.
Do games like that seem to go on for an eternity because you don't have the ball for so long? Is it really taxing and like to maintain concentration and stuff?
Do you know what? It is, but I think like the difference of levels in football is what you notice is that you have to stay switched on, and it's more of the mental side. You can't switch off for a split second because these players have enough quality to just tear you apart in a second. And the moment you switch off, they can just sense it and smell it, and they just go straight for that weakness. But like you say, at the beginning of a game, that sometimes is the only difference between the levels of football is your level of concentration. Yeah, there's money and there's fitness and there's able to look after yourself that little bit better. But also, I just think the level of concentration that has to be in football for that level, it is like a 95-minute game of constantly, I have to know where he is, what he's doing, because even half a yard, and they're punishing you for it.
Yeah, I hear a lot of like the pundits and stuff speak about like the levels and stuff when they're in those FA Cup games, but because you're here and I'm probably never going to be able to ask this question to anyone again, but what's the manager like saying to you before the match? Like, what's the tactics when you have to play against that level of opponent? Like, if you can share as much insight as you can, you don't want to give the secrets away or whatever, but like, what are you being told?
Like, when we're in the changing room, and in all fairness, we kind of know the task ahead, but it literally is that fact of, lads, we have to pull out a performance of constantly, like, it has to be the best team performance that you can possibly think of, like, just to stay in the game, let alone to say we're going to go on and win the game. You have to stay fully focused. Like, normally in a game, especially I'd say League 2, League 1, you can manage to have 2, 3, maybe 4 players have an off day, and the rest of the players can kind of drag them through and kind of pull them along. But I think on evenings like that, when you're playing that level of player, every single player in your team has to be 100% on it, because it only takes one person to switch off, the next person to try and cover that, and then another person to cover that person. And it's like a chain effect of then all of a sudden they find that one weak link, and then straight away they end up scoring or creating an opportunity. And a lot of luck goes into them evenings, because you know that a team like Manchester City are going to create opportunity. They're going to create chances. They're going to do all these things that you're going to only be able to hold out for so long. So you need that bit of luck where it hits the post, or he misses a chance, or it doesn't go in. And you look for that one opportunity that we may get, and then you have to take it because you're not going to get many of them. But going out into them games, you come away from it head to toe exhausted. Like, you come away from it feeling drained, not just physically, but like mentally, because you are constantly seeing one person move there and another one runs past you and another one drops in front of you. And the movement is so sharp that you do have to just, every split second counts in a game like that.
Wow, that is a proper like good insight. Like, I'd imagine coaches saying stuff like you got to like remain like compact and everyone move as like a unit and things like that, and keep everyone tight so they can't exploit you and stuff. Do you think you find it helps though? When you went into your next game after that one, did it help you concentrate a bit more, or did it help you to identify what the sort of like League Two striker would do once you've defended against a Premier League one?
Yeah, but like, in all fairness, I think that's why the FA Cup is so brilliant, because everybody wants to see what a League Two side is going to be like against a Premier League side. And I think the level of striker is more about how reserved they are and more cleverer they are in the Premier League, where, like you say, they only need half a yard, or their movement is that little bit sharper. Whereas in League Two, you come up against a striker who could be 6'4". He's in there just to throw an elbow, an arm. They're going to chase everything. And I think League Two strikers are very relentless in their work. And it's relentless to create an opportunity from a mistake. Whereas I take it, and after playing against it, a Premier League striker is more about they wait and they're patient and they save their energy. They don't chase any balls that they don't need to chase. They don't need to waste a lot of energy in that sense. They just have that energy for then that split moment where they might play a 1-2 around the edge of a box, or that little sharp movement of a drop of the shoulder in the 18-yard box. And I think that is always the difference, where a League Two striker play on percentages of the more I run and the more I chase it, the more the defender will get tired and then I have a chance. Whereas the Premier League striker is just patient and just waits and goes, I only need one opportunity, and then that one opportunity I'll take it. And that's the difference, I think, between the two.
Oh, that's mad. That is absolutely mad.
No, it makes a lot of sense of everything you were saying. I was going to ask, when is it you played for Derby? What like year range was it?
I played in Derby. I signed in 2009, and I think it was 2009 to about 2013, 14, I believe, or maybe 12, 14.
So would you have been at the... Because I think they played Man United in the FA Cup in 2009 at Derby's ground. So I was going to say, because I was going to ask if you was there then, because I went to that game, and Ronaldo played as well, still for United in his last season.
Yeah.
So is that the season you just signed, or do you reckon it was just... I think it was 08-09 that season, because got it up the FA Cup when United won 4-1. So I was just going to ask if you was there around that time.
Yeah, in 2009, that's where that season is the season I signed for Derby. Like, I ended up signing in that summer. So I remember Derby playing that game. Like, at the end of the game, I had to get the match ball signed. I was still in the academy, so I had to get the match ball signed by all the Man United players walking past. So your Ronaldos, all people like that, and I'm standing there as a 16-year-old holding the ball. I got presented me Ireland under 16 Player of the Year at half time onto the pitch. So, like, I was at that game, like, I'm a Man U fan myself. Well, growing up, I was a Man U fan. And me sitting there, and after the game, you're just watching all these players walking past, Paul Scholes, Ryan Giggs, all these people, and you're just thinking, honestly, this is what I want. Like, this is all a dream. This is football for me.
Yeah.
Like, and I have the opportunity. And it was always since those moments where I was always kind of craving to play one of those big teams in an FA Cup, to kind of be part of that. And it's all well and good being there, and I always look at it and say it's great being part of it if you're in a squad, but there's no better feeling than playing against it. There's no better feeling than just thinking, I've come up against one of the best. I've come up against some of the best players that this world is seeing. And that feeling in itself is kind of like, there's no better test.
Yeah, defo. When you do come up, like you said, against them best players and stuff, do you want to like kind of leave a mark on them and go in and fucking 2-foot them and stuff like that or not? So I'm sure I've heard people say that before.
Do you know what? There was a time where it was in the game against Man City. I remember little old Newport were very brave. Like, because we at that moment, our stadium was like a fortress for us. Whoever came and played at ours, we just had this belief that we can beat anybody. So there's not going to be anybody that we're going to fear coming to our ground. So Manchester City's like forced goal kick, like we just pressed and went man for man. So our winger went to the full back, our strikers went to the centre half. I was left 1v1 with Gabriel Jesus in the middle of the park. And the whole pitch was just, it felt like it was massive. And Edison, obviously being technically unbelievable, like clipped the ball into his feet. And as he took a touch, he went to spin it around the corner, but I kind of read it and I went straight through the back of him. And again, I think referees being a little bit kind of lenient towards the Premier League sides. I think even though I won the ball, the referee gave a free kick and he came over and said, no, the force of the tackle was too much and whatever. And I remember Jesus got up and he just got straight in my face, and obviously he was speaking a different language, but he just kept doing that with his hand, saying, you do that, my leg break. And I just walked away because I was
so fucking Brazilian.
And then there was on. After that happened, there was like 10 minutes after that and stuff like that. He's getting the ball into his feet, and if I go press him, he's swinging an arm back at me and an elbow. So, like you say, you can't show them too much respect, because at the end of it all, you're there to win a game of football. Like, and if you show them too much respect, that's when they make a show of you. So you have to kind of enforce it. Now, if we went to the Etihad, it would have been a completely different story. You kind of have to show a little bit more, going, right, hang on a second, this is their turf, lovely pitch, wide, big stadium. But I think when you come down to a place like Newport, you have to make it intimidating. You have to make it a League Two standard. You have to make it that type of feeling, because all the small elements of what those games can bring, an atmosphere, a fearfulness, you have to try and make it as big as possible and make it as difficult as possible, because, like you say, you still want to go out and win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say as well, mentioned obviously that you supported United growing up and stuff like that. And obviously being from Republic of Ireland, I'm guessing, is Roy Keane like one of your heroes as well?
Yeah, Roy Keane was always a massive, massive person that I grew up watching. And again, like you say, being a Manchester United fan, he was just someone where, again, his tackling, his leadership, his authority, like everything about him as a player, I always just loved and wanted to be something like that. And obviously when he's Irish and you see that and you're just thinking, I want to be that one day, I want to be that person. And then as time went on, I remember Man United signed Nemanja Vidic. And then once I seen Nemanja Vidic play, I looked at that and I thought, that's exactly who I want to be. Like that person where he would head anything, tackle anything. He'd rather break his nose than score a goal. He just had this defend and love defending. And that was me. Like, I love defending. So when I was watching somebody like that, I couldn't think of anybody better to try and bring myself up on to go, yeah, like that type player is 100% me all over.
Do you think he's like the best centre-back to ever play in the Premier League, Vidic?
Do you know what? I think he's up there with one of the best centre-backs to ever play in the Premier League. I think as a defender, like, you had your Rio Ferdinand next to him, who could obviously play football a little bit more, but I think as a defender and an out-and-out tough man, tackler, read the game, win your headers, win your tackles, and he could also play if he needed to play, because you don't play for Manchester United if you can't. Yeah. But I look at it and just think, out and out defending wise, the likes of your John Terry's and Nemanja Vidic's and people like that, I think there's not really many like it.
No, not anymore, definitely. Where the game's changing and stuff. Especially, like, do you still follow Man United now? Or
do you know what? I do and I don't. Like, if a game's on, I will watch it, but I wouldn't say like I'm as madly into Manchester United as I used to be, because I think even Premier League football in itself now, as much as people saying they love the game and it's changing and there's a lot more football being played, I think I enjoyed that era of where like there was a lot of rivalry, there was a lot of like everybody, like your Gerrards, your Roy Keanes, your Lampards, like your Man U's against Liverpool's and your Liverpool against Everton's and Man U, Arsenal. And like when you had those rivalries of Roy Keane, Vieira, that was the era where it made you love football, the competitive side and everything. So I think watching it nowadays, it's kind of a little bit more difficult because I don't see it as competitive anymore. I think it's self-explanatory. It's very, you have the best footballing players. Well, then the best footballing players 9 times out of 10 are going to go out and win. And I think it's something where before there was a lot of a level playing field where you had to fight for a win and it was about the battle and everything that went on in the game. I think that because it's slowly come out of it a little bit more, I think it just makes football a little bit harder in the Premier League to watch, whereas you watch a Championship, a League One or a League Two game and you see that little bit more of an old school type football where there is competitive, there's tackles out and there's no VAR and it's kind of like a decision to get made there and then. It's just a lot more exciting to watch.
Yeah, 100%. I was going to say, because I still watch quite a lot of like the podcasts and stuff now, which like Gary Neville and that do. And Gary Neville says quite a lot like about football now. It's almost become too like technical, do you know, in the sense of like since Pep's come to City and all stuff like that. And it's like, it's almost like a game of chess in the sense of like you said, like back in them days, like good like 10 years ago, whatever, like you said, when it was like Arsenal, United, Chelsea, Liverpool, and you had like Mourinho.
And everyone played 4-4-2.
No, but I mean, and it was like, you get fucking mint games and stuff, whereas now it's like, everyone like plays out from the back, and it's like, you know, there's like a specific way of playing and all stuff like that, and it's almost like you don't see like fucking mad screamers anymore, do you know what I mean? Like, it's more of a science. Do you know what I mean? Like, I
get what you say. It's become more of an art.
Yeah, like
than a sport.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Mark said. Then, like when you watch like lower league games and stuff like that, it is almost like the olden games. Like I see clips sometimes on YouTube of like old games where like fucking Roy Keane and that, and United, Liverpool, or something, they'll be like sliding on each other, you know, just to get the crowd going and stuff like that. And the ref will let about 6 or 7 fouls go. Whereas now, like you said, you like fucking give Jesus a little nudge in the back, and then the ref's like, can't do that. And it's like, it's not even like fucking football anymore.
It's like a non-contact sport now, isn't it? Or it's one pace behind that, isn't it?
Yeah. 100%, and like how football, I think, like you say, if you're a football fan going to a game, you paid for your ticket, you want to see like what the whole at the beginning of football used to be when I started. It's like first 5 minutes, let him know he's in a game. So the forced tackle, the forced header, like get the crowd going. Like fans want to see somebody like bleed for that club. Basically, they want to see that forced tackle. They want to see the passion, but it's like the passion is getting taken away for the technical side. The meaning of winning a game of football, that love, the intensity and all is just gone because, again, it's like you've got your VAR, so there's none of this, is he onside, is he not? You're not allowed to make that tackle if it's there to be won. And as a defender, like 9 times out of 10, if you have a 50-50, you're kind of like licking your lips a little bit thinking, I can leave one on him here, I can go right through him here. And now, because you can't just now win a ball. It's all about the fact of saying, okay, what's the force of the tackle, the follow through of the tackle? And you're thinking, well, if you go in for a slide tackle, you can't help if there's a follow through to that or not. But now all of a sudden you're being penalised for it. So now you try not tackle because now all of a sudden it'll be getting given as something where you're getting yellow cards for tackles that you've won cleanly. And I just believe football now has been taken away from the competitive side, and like you said it perfect, it is like a game of chess. It's like watching international football. Like international football is very like a chess game. International football is like you have it, we have it, you have it, we have it, and let's see who cracks first. And Premier League football now, like you say, everybody has got the one style and one style only. One team will play out in the back and from the 6-yard box to the defenders, to the midfielders, to the strikers. Now all of a sudden every team wants to do it. And granted, yet when it comes off, it is a brilliant way to play. And sometimes you watch certain types of football and you think, wow, that is unbelievable. But you lose that competitive side. I just believe you lose any sort of competitiveness towards football when you bring so much technology and everything into it. Like, you lose that connection with the fans because you can't make that tackle and you can't make that little bit of, like, what I call it the dark arts. You can't pull on a short a little bit, and you can't, like, all of a sudden get that little kind of heads up on your teammate or on your opponent. Like, standing in the tunnel like your Roy Keane's in the air is where they're squaring up to each other. There's a bit of fire going out into the game, and then all of a sudden the atmosphere builds and you're wanting to watch the game, and you see them kick out at each other that little bit, and you normally have a referee that will just calm it down. Whereas now he'll come over and hand out a red card to two players for something where they're just showing that little bit of fight. And I think sometimes, that in football is missing so much, that sometimes you see it now where in a game one person will make an unbelievable tackle, and because it's kind of unheard of, you see them go back on the replays of it and go, oh, he's lucky not to see a yellow or red card. And you're thinking, he's just won the ball clean as he can, but yet he's lucky not to see a red card for winning the ball. And you're just thinking, football has gone in that way where I think it's getting less and less contact, and it's getting less enjoyable to watch because there's no contact. And I think that's what everybody loved about it.
That was a fucking big rant, that, Mark. That was unbelievable. I couldn't have said it any better myself.
I just love that, giving little questions and just listening to how you talk about football, because it's so fucking fascinating.
Unbelievable answer. Yeah, I've not got a disagreement in anything that you said against that. What do you think can be done, though, to sort of, like, not get football back to the way it used to be, because that's never going to happen, but is it just a case of the leniency that you think needs to happen and just let footballers do their thing and not be violent?
Yeah, like, I do think, like, you have to have a level of understanding of football. You have to have a level of ex-players that have a bit more of an involvement to understand that when somebody's in a running motion and the hand is in an irregular position in different things, it's kind of like you have to allow for that. You can't just give everything as a handball. You can't just give everything as a foul. You also have to look at it and go, okay, he's won the ball, but it's about not the fact of saying, oh, I want to go out and break someone's leg and do some damage to somebody, but you have to also appreciate the fact of going, he's read that perfectly well. It's a perfectly timed tackle. And do you know what? Get on with the game. And I think that will then stop all the little other things where when there's a bit more leniency, it will stop the fact of people going down that little bit more simpler. It will stop people going down that little bit easier because they're not going to get given those fouls anymore. And then they need to stop relying on VAR so much and need to stop relying on that. Get back to referees actually refereeing a game and making that decision there and then to kind of say, is it a penalty? Is it not? Is it a free kick? Is it a red card? Is it a yellow? Because I believe that now all of a sudden when a tackle happens, they have the fourth official in their ear. They also have VAR in their ear saying, I think you need to look at that tackle again. I think you need to watch this and I think you need to watch that. Whereas in that moment, the referee probably didn't think that that was a foul or that was a yellow card or that was a red card. And I think for that moment, that's where the leniency comes from. That leniency comes from the fact of going, in that moment, what did you think? And if you didn't think that, well then look, you can almost debate about it afterwards. That's why we have pundits and that's why people can speak about it. But then that's what gives them stuff to speak about. And like you say, it just brings back that competitive edge. When you know you have that leniency of allowed to tackle and allowed that little bit more contact, then people will then all of a sudden get that little bit more competitive because they know they can't go down easy and they don't buy fouls anymore because they're going to have to be that little bit more robust to take a tackle and to take a challenge. And I think that sometimes sorts out a lot of problems.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it could kill the game a little bit as well in some ways. Like, I know last season, for example, on 2 occasions I can think on top of my head with Man United. Right at the start of the season, United played against Arsenal and it was 1-1. And Garnacho scored right at the end for United and went 2-1 up. And then the VAR'd it and he was like a fucking pube offside. And they give it offside and I was like, do you know? And then Arsenal went and scored a goal straight after, and it's like, if that goal would have been given, that might not have happened. And then the other one as well in the FA Cup semi-final. I can't remember the team United played against now. What?
I was going to use that one there. I was literally about to say that exact same example.
And when United was...
you talk about the level of football.
Yeah. I was going to say, in the FA Cup semi-final when United was like... I think it was 3-0 up or something. And it was like...
Coventry.
Coventry, that's it. Are they Championship or League One?
I think they're in the Championship, Coventry.
Yeah. But they pulled it back to like 3-3. And it went to extra time and then they scored and went 4-3 up. And then the ref VAR'd it and chalked it off. And I'm a United fan, but I was gutted for them because I was like, they fucking deserve it. Like, do you know what I mean? They're playing against fucking players that are like, on like fucking 100, 200 grand a week, and they fucking just giving up. Like, I get so annoyed watching it, and I don't know. You might see it differently though, obviously where you played the game and stuff like that. But I was rooting for Coventry in that game towards the end. It was like fucking fuming, like that they obviously lost out on that opportunity, to go to the final, because they fucking deserved it the way they was all playing and fucking giving it them. But I can bang on about shit like that all day. But there was something else that I wanted to say that I found funny before when you were saying about the not going in and breaking a leg and stuff like that. Do you ever remember when I think United played against Chelsea and Rooney deliberately wore massive studs and they said he was going to try and fucking break Terry's leg or something like that? And because he wore such big studs, I think he like twisted his ankle, because his studs got stuck in the grass and he ended up injuring himself or something like that. I think to be fair, Rooney's probably my favourite footballer. Sorry,
things like that I think are things like that I think are very funny, because it's like players are humans at the end of the day, and I always think that because people take away so much of the human aspect to a football, they don't like believe in the fact of, do you know what, I mightn't just like a person, or he's really pissed me off today, or last week he said something that I don't really like. And everybody has those moments where, like you say, in your day-to-day job, there's probably someone that will say, I'd love to punch his head in, I'd love to have a fight with him, I'd love to do it. Like, footballers are the same, where you go, I don't like him, I'm going to leave one on him, I'm going to make a tackle on him. Like, he said something last week, or he done this to me. You look at Roy Keane with Haaland, and he had something that he held against him for so long.
He did, yeah.
That all of a sudden he had that one opportunity, and he had that one opportunity to do something about it, and he done it. And look at, sometimes you just go, well, that's so be it. That's life. That's what happens, and sometimes it happens in football, and you just have to get on with it. But like you say, I think when you look at the likes of anything like that in football, where not every footballer wants to go out and intentionally, and I believe wants to intentionally hurt someone, but you do get those times where you're thinking, I'm playing against a certain person today, I remember him from before. Yeah, do you know what? My first tackle on him might just be that little bit extra, because you know what? Of what he done 2 weeks ago when we played against him, or last season of what he done. So, like you say, it does happen, because again, everybody's still only human. Like, you still have the same emotions as everybody else.
Yeah, defo. I think what you said then about the Roy Keane one with Haaland, that one's mad. Have you seen the video where it shows you done it, like the game where I think Haaland might have played for Leeds at the time, and Keane fell down and that Haaland got in his face and started pointing in his face, going mad. And then it fast forwards to the incident when he played for City and Keane just fucking snaps his leg. But they've done interviews since about it, haven't they? They've, when Keane's been talking and they mention it and that, and then they go, do you regret doing it? And he'll be like, no, he had it coming and stuff like that. And it's fucking, I love that about him.
Was that your attempt at an Irish accent then?
No, I wouldn't do that.
He just tried it and then he backed out.
I backed out midway, mate, and it ended up being Scouse. But I was actually going to ask, do you know all the stuff that happened with Christian Eriksen around where he had to get a box fitted or something, didn't he?
Is it a pacemaker?
A pacemaker or something. Is that something similar to obviously what you had to go through? Because obviously you said that you had 2 surgeries, so I'm assuming you carried on playing after your first one, and then after your second one, would you just not able to play anymore?
Yeah, like after the first one, like I had a routine heart scan, and I got told when I was 16 that I needed that operation done after making my debut. And they found out that I had a leak in my aortic valve. So I had open heart surgery when I was 16, and I got told when I was 16 I'll probably never play football again. Wow. So that in itself was kind of like a massive thing, that because they gave me a year to a maximum of 5 years of maybe trying to play football, but they said I'd be lucky to play down the park with my friends.
Wow.
I ended up getting back playing, and again, played for 11 years. And in that 11 years, I had a heart scan every single season to see if I was allowed to play the next season. So, like, my career was never guaranteed. My career was never something that was set in stone, that I got told, oh yeah, you get to play this amount and this is what you get to do. Like, if I signed a 2-3 year deal, I might only get a year out of that. But that was the chance I took because, again, like I say, I loved football that much. And I think as time was going on, year after year was just getting better and better, and I just carried on playing. And then when I had to retire, I had a leak in my aortic valve again. So it's like a seven hour long operation that they take out the leak and valve. And now I've got a metallic valve in. So the reason I can't play is because I'm on a blood thinner now for the rest of my life. And you're not allowed to play contact sport with a blood thinner. So I'm able to stay fit, well and healthy. I'm just not allowed to play contact sport. So still staying involved in football and all the things that went around it. The fact of I see things so much differently now. Like the fact I can accept not playing football is like a massive thing for me, because I used to hate the fact of after retiring that I could never play again. Like I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. Like I couldn't get my head space away from anything. But now all of a sudden, the fact that I can look at a career that I said I got 11 years longer than any doctor gave me at 16, I ended up doing so many things in that career that I can always look back on and be proud of. And I don't regret it, because I knew I gave every year the best year that I could possibly give, or the best year that it allowed me to have, because I was never guaranteed it. And then all of a sudden I look at it and go, well, look, I can still be involved in football now and still be a good part of football at a club that I really love. And to be part of it is something where I look at it so differently, to go, well, I'm still lucky to be around to watch football. I got told at 16 I was going to die that year. I got told at 27 I should be dead. So everything on top of all this is a bonus. So as much as all them things seem so drastic and seem so like out there, it is something where, do you know what, the brighter side of life is I can wake up each morning, I can still be involved in football. So everything that has happened, I had to go tough times mentally, like, and really low times mentally once I come away from it. But the side that I'm at now is like totally different. But like the procedure in itself is something where I had a leak in my aortic valve where Ericsson ended up having a cardiac arrest. So his is something that went out of rhythm, where mine was something that my heart was beating fine, but it was working twice as hard because blood was leaking back into my heart. So it was working and pumping twice as hard, which meant when I was exercising, when I was like staying active and obviously training in football, my heart was growing and expanding and getting bigger, to where at one stage when I was 16, when they found it, they said my heart was 3 times the size of what it should have been. And that was something where, because it was enlarging and getting bigger, they said I was so close to just stop it. So they were different things. And the reason why he gets to continue is because the defib, if anything was to happen, shocks it back in and all of these different things. But like you say, it's something where mentally, as like when you're a footballer in that situation, you don't think of anything else other than, I want to get back playing, because football is your only distraction from any day-to-day life hurdles that you might come across. And when you don't have that distraction, which I noticed for myself, and you don't have that purpose, because when you're a footballer, your sole purpose is to go out and play, to go out and win, to go out and compete. And when you don't have that, and you lose that routine and that regiment feeling of knowing what your year is or your day-to-day basis is, and you don't have that changing room, you start to like think to yourself, well, what else am I going to do with my life? Like I don't know anything else, and you panic. But I think now when you kind of work on it a little bit for yourself and where I've done it for me, it's like that's why I speak so openly about so many different things, because you know what? It's not just footballers that deal with it on a day-to-day life. Anybody can deal with these struggles. And when these struggles happen, it's about how you overcome it. And sometimes, like you say, it's about you take each day as it comes. And that is literally how I kind of live my life for what it is now. So even though I don't play anymore, my open heart surgery taught me so many more things than I think I never would have learned if I just stayed in football.
Yeah. So what is it you do now that's allowed you to stay connected to football, Mark? Are you some like a coach or something of that nature?
Like I help around with a bit of coaching. I don't have any coaching badges or anything, but I help around. I'm more of like a player care type person, where I'm a person in football that when a player doesn't play or when a player needs stuff to speak about, like just that person in a club that when all cards are down, if they're not playing and the manager doesn't like them or they've got an injury or whatever, that person that is just talking to them, helping them along, giving them a different perspective, helping them in their ways of thinking, and just giving them that bit more of a clarity to anything that's happening for themselves. That, like you say, football can be a very lonely world, because it's a job and it's a business, but at the same time it's a lifestyle and it does take over your life. So if football isn't going well for you, or life away from football isn't going well, like your whole life can feel as though you are just in a shelter and nobody is there to listen, and you've got to be okay and you've got to tell everybody I'm fine or else it goes against you. Whereas now it's more about the fact of going, right, how is the player actually feeling? How is he during his injury? Like, you kind of show a lot more care, because realistically, the more care you show, the more the player wants to play for that club and wants to play for that manager or wants to play for that team. And then the more he wants to play for that club or team, the better you're going to, like, the better your club's going to be and the more beneficial it's going to be for his career. So it's not literally about you only stay care for them when they're at your club. It's like you give them those type of lessons that is going to teach them things for the rest of their life. And that to me is priceless in football. I think you can have all the money in the world and everything, but when you feel as though you have somebody supporting you no matter what, that will bring out anything in any footballer to kind of go, yeah, look, everything might be going against me, but I know I'll do this for this person. I'll do this for this club. And when you've got that, I tell you, it's a massive difference in football nowadays.
That's really good. And I bet because you've played the game as well, you'll know what that player will be sort of like feeling like from an emotional perspective, and you'll know how to sort of quote unquote tackle them and give them the sort of reassurance that you think that you might have required should you have been in a similar position. So I think that's mega for like position for you to be in. I think that's class.
Yeah, definitely. Do you reckon coaching or being a manager, anything that's on your list, being a captain, like you imagine you'd quite enjoy getting into that aspect?
Do you know what? Like the little bits of coaching that I get involved in, and like speaking with the back four or talking with defenders or different things like that, like I do enjoy, and I have enjoyed a lot of it. But also I more enjoy the mental side of it. I enjoy the fact of being that person that can kind of give someone a bit more clarity or help them through an injury, or like you say, give them back the experience that I, again, probably once needed when I played. Because when I played, it was like at certain points, it was during an era where, like you say, you didn't want to show weakness. You didn't want anybody to think any different of you. You wanted to stay strong, and you wanted to like be that leader and that person that people can go to. But everybody has their struggles. And I think now all of a sudden, when you're able to give that back and be in the same situation that they would have been in, and then you share that with them and they can kind of see, you can see it in their face when everything starts to click that little bit more, and you start kind of showing them the way of saying your career is in your hands. And when your career is in your hands, It's not a managerial decision. It's not anything like that. It's the fact of how you hold yourself every single day and make yourself accountable for your own career that gets the best out of it. It's not hoping that a manager likes me and it's because of this manager and that player and this. And anybody who's willing to finger point are the ones that always seem to struggle. It's the ones that can actually look at themselves and go, well, look, I'm giving everything every day and I'm not going to look back with a single regret. And when you can look back at a career without a single regret, you've done yourself proud. But I think when you look back and you can finger point and tell this is his fault and his fault and his fault, I think that's where you struggle, because you'll never actually look at yourself and go, maybe I could have done better. And I think that's where players struggle a lot in. A lot of players struggle in the fact of not looking at themselves, because they don't want that feeling of going, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe this isn't for me, or maybe I have done something wrong. Everything has to be perfect. Whereas sometimes the quicker you get to that realisation of your career in your own hands, the better your career will go.
Yeah, defo. It's just mental, like you said, mate, like how much it's changed and stuff. Because I always think like what you were saying then in terms of like when Alex Ferguson was manager at Man United, and like the treatment he used to give the players, and they did just crack on and they'd listen and they'd like give all of it like for the club and stuff like that. And I just think like where it is today with Man United and stuff, and I just think like you get players like Sancho and stuff like that, you know, like when the managers fucking said something and like they turn up late all the time. Do you know, even like the era when we had like fucking Pogba and Lingard and shit like that, and you just think like, I've heard Rudy speak about it loads, and it's just like how much it's changed, you know, in terms of like the players have like got player power now, and they think they're more in charge, and they've got agents, and it's just bonkers the way it's changed. And that's one thing I do love about Pep at City. Like he still reminds me of like how Fergie was, you know, like he goes fucking
mate, if you don't want to play, mate, he fucking sends you packing.
Yeah.
Look what he did to Cancelo, mate. I think he had a bit of a bicker and it was like, yeah, mate, fuck off to Barca. I don't give a fuck about you.
No, it's mega. But yeah, it's just mad how much it's changed. It's mental.
Yeah, no, I genuinely do think football has changed so much, because, like you say, I think every player now, because of social media, they all feel entitled. They all think that this is the way the footballers are. You earn thousands a week, you get the nice cars, you get the lifestyle, you get this, and when it doesn't work out, it has to be someone else's fault, because that's what I've seen on my phone. That's what football should be. Football isn't sitting on a bench. Football isn't sitting in a stand. Football isn't training not well and a manager not liking me. Like, there's so many more factors to football that I think there's false advertisement out there through social media. And I think nowadays, when players fall into that trap of thinking, well, I'm entitled, I'm a footballer now, so I should be living the dream and I should be living the best life and this should be the best thing ever. Whereas sometimes you have to strip it all back and take away all the add-ons of football and go back and say, well, why did you ever start football?
Yeah.
Everybody started at a young age because you loved it. You started because you really enjoyed it, you loved it, and that is the main core of why you will put up with all of this rubbish that you go on about. That's why you put up with missing out on Christmases, and you put up with missing out on New Year's, and you put up with travelling up and down the country, because you know what? You love the game. So everything else, when you strip it all back and say, fall back in love with the game, and all your external stuff of wages, cars, lifestyle will all come to you if you keep that love for football. But when you start finding it easy to point the finger and play the blame game, and like you say, players do feel as though they have a lot more entitlement now, just due to the fact of, because they're heard a lot more. And I think there's a lot more of mental health stuff going around football, which I think is a massive plus in football that's happening nowadays.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to sit and suffer. You don't have to worry about things. You don't have to sit and think, this manager doesn't like me, and am I going to play? Am I not going to play? Like, my life. And look, I've just had a newborn baby, and the baby's keeping me up at night, and I'm struggling. And do you know what? I've just fell out with my wife, or I've just had a divorce, or my girlfriend has done something. Like, there's so many more factors that people are being heard about now in football, whereas it used to be, if you don't turn up on a Saturday, you're shit, you're never playing again. Whereas there's probably a bigger reason to it now, where finally it's being heard and it's being considered, and I think that is a massive change. But also, there's a lot more, because everything has to be spoken to differently. there's not that kind of core of resilience in many young footballers nowadays, because they get brought up in an environment where you don't have to do jobs like clean boots and make sure you pump up balls and make sure the equipment's right, and you have to do all them things that kind of give you that learning curve of going, this is what I need to do to then step into a first team. This is going to get me more connected to a first team, and people will start integrating me into the group. Whereas now it's kind of like you come in at academy age and you already feel as though you're on a level par with a senior member, a senior player. You already feel as though, I've made it. Well, I'm in the club already, I've made it. Whereas realistically, you've not done a single thing in your career, but when you feel as though you've had that in the academy, by the time you make it to first team level, you're already thinking you're even closer to making like the best thing ever for yourself. So there's so many different factors to why it's good and not good for young players nowadays. But I do also believe that speaking out a lot more and actually how players are a lot more open is a massive plus now.
Yeah, definitely.
Couldn't agree more.
I was going to say, sorry, what you were saying then, it reminded me of a story I read quite a while ago of, I think it was John Terry when he was assistant coach at Villa. And he was saying one of the players was just playing shit, and he'd been playing shit for a few weeks, and he like wanted to like bollock him or something like that. And I think the manager might have been Martin O'Neill, and I think he chatted to Martin O'Neill about it or something. And Martin O'Neill said, "Have you actually gone and spoke to him and asked him like, why he's not playing so good at the moment?" So I think he went and spoke to him or something like that, and then he said like he misses his family and he's not seen his family in like 5 months or something like that. So they give him like the week off and let him fly back home, see his family. And then he said he'd come back a different player. And he said like he just weren't used to that kind of stuff, do you know, where he used to play for Chelsea with like Mourinho and stuff like that. And he said like it showed him like a different side, you know, like where obviously things like that do impact. And like you said, it's meant that that's becoming more of a thing in like...
Yeah, it's more of a humanic approach, isn't it? Rather than like you're a robot, you play football, you win games, or you get fucked off. Yeah, I get that. It's good to know it. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's good. I think John Terry tells it a lot better though. He says it dead funny. But yeah, mate, do you want to?
Is it time for Troubled Tales?
Yeah, mate, do it. We've got a new segment on our pod, mate. We debuted it yesterday, but you're going to be our second person to do it. We've basically been doing this thing called Troubled Tales, and like some of our listeners send in like wild stories, and we've had a couple good ones yesterday. We had like a ghost story sent in of like a paranormal activity, which didn't end up being paranormal. And then we also got sent one in yesterday of like someone's college tutor. It was like fancy.
It was like grooming them essentially,
like baby reindeer in them. And so we've got two more that we're going to read out today.
Yeah, well, the first one, Mark, does pertain to somewhat football related, so that's why we've picked this one for your episode.
All
right. Are you ready? So this email was sent in by anonymous because we don't say the name or anything like that. That's the whole gambit. Like you can send in whatever you want, and we're not going to say your name. So this one says, "Hiya lads, all right, buckle up because we're taking a trip back to 2020, a simpler time when the Champions League draw had just come out, and guess what? City drew Real Madrid for the first leg at the Bernabeu. Now, my dad and I have always dreamed of watching City win at that iconic stadium. We were there back in 2017 when Ronaldo broke our hearts in the last second, leaving us utterly devastated. So this time around, we were hell-bent on getting tickets. We tapped up every friend, every connection, even the guy who works at the chipper, trying to score 2 seats together at a somewhat reasonable price. My dad was a season ticket holder, so we just needed 1 extra ticket. Easy, right? Not quite. Here's where the plot thickens. Turns out my dad's mate, who also had a season ticket, wasn't planning to go to Madrid. Why? He couldn't be bothered with the flights, the expense, and all that jazz. Perfect, we thought, until we realised his season ticket was an accessible ticket because he's in a wheelchair. Now, my dad's not one My dad isn't one. My dad's not one to let this little detail get in the way. He turns to me and says, well, why don't we just use my mate's accessible ticket, get an extra one free as a carer, right? So here we are, eyes gleaming, seriously considering this harebrained scheme. Are we really going to use a disabled person's ticket and sneak the other one in as a carer? Damn right we are. I mean, how often do you get to see your team play at the Bernabeu? So, the master plan starts to come together. We draw the names out of a hat as to decide who's sitting in the wheelchair. Yes, we actually needed a wheelchair. So we fly to Spain, get to the city centre and rent one for 24 hours. Fast forward to game day. We're in the square, getting absolutely shit-faced with the other fans. Kick-off approaches. It's time to get into character. We pick up the wheelchair, hop on the train, and roll up to the stadium. My dad jumps in the wheelchair, and I'm now his devoted carer. Pushing him along like his legs don't work.
Person's a savage, mate.
Oh my god. Tension's high.
Oh my god.
Heart is racing. And our Spanish is non-existent, so this plan has to work. And as we approach the entrance, my dad turns to me and says, just fucking own it. So I hand over the security guard, the tickets to the security guard, who eyes us up suspiciously, but then proceeds to lead us to the disabled seating area. Plot twist, it's smack bang in the middle of the Real Madrid fans. So now we're in enemy territory. When Madrid score first, the place erupts around us and we're sitting there poker-faced while everyone else goes mental. But then, City equalise with a De Bruyne penalty. We exchange the most subtle fist pump you've ever seen. But then, in the 85th minute, De Bruyne whips in an unbelievable cross. Gabriel Jesus heads it in and it's 2-1. I can see my dad is about to jump up in joy. I have to press him back down into the wheelchair, whispering, remember, you can't do that right now. He grins sheepishly saying, oh yeah, I forgot. The game ends and we head to the train station where, of course, there's no accessible entrance in sight. My dad, still in the wheelchair, suddenly stands up and from behind us we hear someone shout, clearly in Spanish, saying, it's a miracle. I carry the wheelchair down the stairs while my dad nonchalantly strolls down and then just hops back in the wheelchair at the bottom. We lock eyes with the train attendant and I gesture that I've got a person in a wheelchair. He gives us the VIP treatment, ushering us to the train first, away from the chaos. The plan worked flawlessly, and to this day, it's one of the funniest, most outrageous memories my dad and I share. And thank God this is anonymous because, well, you get it. Keep up the great work. Love the podcast, boys.
Fucking hell, that is insane.
That is probably one of the best stories I think I've ever heard to watch a game of football.
That is mental.
Oh, that took my breath away reading all that. That was fucking jokes.
It's a long message, that as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, sorry about that, Mark. We're not keeping you for anything.
Now, do you know what? In all fairness, I genuinely thought when they said De Bruyne scored that goal, I thought his dad was going to get up and stand on the rest. Like, literally, I thought that's where it was leading. Oh, no, he can't. That's unbelievable.
That would have been unreal if it did. Well, we've just got one more.
Over to you, mate.
Got
that
one more
class.
tale.
Class.
This one's not football related, so we can swiftly move away from football for a moment. So this one says a person in a profession that goes to people's houses when they get a call for a job. So I'm guessing that's like cryptic for like a police officer or something like that. So they come in one day, they get a call one day for a bloke who lives alone, and the person says that they think this person is maybe being exploited, as the neighbours report that they see plenty of visitors come into the house and leave the house and shout really extreme things and commands at him, telling him that he's worthless, to give him money and to get on his knees and beg for him not to hurt him.
Look at him.
The said professional then attends the house. The bloke answers the door. The house is an absolute pigsty. We are talking hoarder-level disgust in the kitchen, bathroom, hallway, etc. And the house stinks of piss, just to give a bit of context. Anyway...
my God.
We say, is there anywhere we can sit down? Maybe a little bit more comfortable, says the professional. Yeah, just come through this door and sit down in here. So they walk through this other room, and it's immaculate. You could eat your dinner off the floor, clean sofas, lazy boy armchairs, big 65-inch TV on the wall, sound system that Calvin Harris would be proud of. We ask the question about his life, and we ask if he's being exploited, etc. He looks bemused. Me? Exploited? I don't think so. He goes on to explain that the sound setup that he's got is worth about 15 grand, and no one's ever asked him for money or hurt him. It turns out that the visitors who was visiting the house are his carers, and they help with his living situation, and the abuse was just an impressive range of porn that you would categorise as dominating. And he was well into his porn about people getting treated like scum. The sound quality of his setup was in the front room was just so clear that the neighbours got easily confused. So he just watched porn really loud, basically, and that's what his neighbours could hear.
Oh, tell me I'm worthless, come on.
His sound system must be a joke.
Oh, that Calvin Harris would be jealous of. That fucking got me right.
It's mad.
Oh, well, I hope you enjoyed those stories, Matt, because it's very new, like even for us, and we find it hilarious. So we hope our guests and followers do as well.
You know what? In all fairness, I think stories like that, it's like stuff you wouldn't even dream of, and letting people just speak out freely, I think, is quality, because you'll end up hearing some random things that you're just thinking, I would never think of anything like that. And I never even thought a sound system could be so clear.
No.
Hey mate, I reckon you'll have some stories that you can send us from your like fucking pre-season tours and shit like that.
Yeah, if we give you our email, will you send some pre-season shit in for you? We won't say that you've sent it in, obviously.
Yeah, no, don't say it was me, but remember that time in Derby pre-season.
Oh yeah, don't say the club then. Don't say a club name or any names. Just say like the story, and then we'll like fill in the blanks of like a football club or something. Yeah. That'd be. We didn't even ask him about that, and I really wanted to.
No, I know.
Well, I'll have to get you back on for a part 2, Mark, if you'd be up for that, because we fucking really enjoyed you being here.
Get back on for a part 2.
We'd love that, mate, if you're up for that.
100%.
Oh, I love it. I hope we didn't fanboy too much, because I felt like we was both getting so excited asking you shit. But,
I know.
No, I proper appreciate you coming on, mate, and giving us your time and stuff like that. We really, really appreciate it. And yeah, just thank you for being so open and honest and shit. And I'm sure you've done plenty of fucking interviews and shit, so I know you probably had to repeat yourself loads, so just thank you for, just being mint, and we really enjoyed speaking to you.
No, honestly, like it's you don't have to like thank me. Like, I'm more than happy to do it. And as I said, I loved every minute of it, and I'd happily come back on for a part 2 and chat some more and stuff like that. Like, there's loads to be spoken about or to speak about, but sometimes, like you say, it's always nice just to be able to reel it all back and actually just have a laugh with things and be open and like get it in that sense, because I think everybody needs a bit of a laugh in their life from time to time. Do you know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, that's what we're about. We like ending on a bit of a high, don't we, mate? That's what we want. We want people to like finish us off going like, "Oh, that was good." Well, listen to them again. They're all right.
No, I think it just lagged there a little bit. Like, so I didn't hear the last bit.
Yeah, just Ryan babbling on, mate, about fucking saying he hopes people enjoy the pod.
Me babbering on.
We'll let you get off to your Friday evening anyway, mate, because it's cracking on a bit. But like, we've absolutely buzzed having you on, man, and we'll definitely be in touch for part 2 because I've still got bare more stuff I want to ask.
Yeah, no, 100%. Just let me know, and like you say, just write me a message or whatever, and yeah, 100%. I'll be up for that.
Yeah, awesome. All right, Mark. Nice one, mate. Thank you very much.
See you later. Have a good one, mate. Thanks again.
All right, hit that, the lads. All the best.
You too, mate. Thank you.